Welcome back to Grassroots Radio Colorado. This is Andy and Corey Pate that you're listening to, not Chris Cook. She's taking the night off tonight. This hour we're talking about oil. And we just listened to Mark Mathis walk through some of the really important things that we need to know about oil, how crucial it is, and what the future holds. Now we have a caller online. This is Al from Colorado Springs. Al, what do you got for us?
Good evening. I was just wondering what would happen to the oil economy here in the States if we would lift the ban that exists for exporting crude and refined petroleum from the U.S. I mean, right now we're taking care of ourselves. I've got a son who's in the industry up in North Dakota, and he says the drill rigs are stacking up now. At Christmas, only 25% of them have been mothballed already. But what would happen if we started playing on the world market?
Well, this isn't an area that I am an expert in, so bear with me. The first thing that comes to my mind, though, is that I think we could really help some of our allies overseas. Countries that border Russia that are dependent on their energy would no longer be under their thumb. Maybe we would be able to give them a little bit of energy independence, and they would have a chance to go about their lives without worrying about their heat being shut off.
One thing that I really like that you're saying, I hear so many people say if we get the oil here, we just have to keep it all here. But you're being much more forward thinking. Because what about the trade deficit? We have this enormous trade deficit, and we have a product that we can send out, that we can export. Why is that a bad thing? What do you think, Al?
I don't know. I don't think it is a bad thing, obviously. I just know that already people are getting laid off out in the fields, drilling rigs, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
And if we were exporting that, we'd be keeping jobs going. OPEC is obviously trying to push us out of the industry and by flooding the market with cheap oil.
Yeah, well, and I think that OPEC is definitely bitter towards us for creating, for really developing fracking and finding ways to use it better. One of the reasons that it's been difficult in the oil and gas industry lately is that companies have a threshold that they have to sell the oil at so that it can be profitable. There are so many expenses on the back end that we don't ever hear about. And so that's part of the reason why all of these layoffs are happening. So it's going to take a little bit of time for things to even out and so that we can get back to a reasonable price for oil. I mean, I'm loving it at the gas pump, but ultimately, like you're saying, there are people who are being negatively impacted through layoffs because companies can't economically drill.
But wait a minute,
Right.
What about record profits?
I
thought you guys were evil, and your son, sir, he must be evil too. We're all evil, and these are record profits that we have, and why shouldn't we just be able to coast those out? It's not that simple, is it?
No, but I'm looking at a middle line here, an average, because if refined products, gasoline is selling for $6 and $7 a gallon in Japan and in Europe, obviously it's costing. They're taking the cheap oil and still it's selling for $6 or $7. If we could be manufacturing and refining our own product, exporting it, and selling it for even halfway in between, then there is a market there that wouldn't have us selling at what we're paying now.
Well, I actually, Al, I think the higher prices are due to much higher taxes on the product.
Well, I realize
it
that,
is,
but
yeah.
the oil
Not
companies
totally.
are not making the big profits you're talking about. It's Uncle Sam with all the taxes.
Well, and that is definitely true because when you look at how much of the price we pay at the pump is based on tax, it's pretty staggering. And then, of course, like I said earlier, with all of the prices behind the scenes, it's taxed every way from Sunday.
Right, but we still have to pay the people, the 20. Everybody's talking about the huge bucks up there, but my son's out there working on drill rigs as casing crew, and he's making, I think his wage is like 21 an hour, but he's getting all the, or at least for the last 2 years, getting all the overtime he could stand.
Mm-hmm.
Al, do you think maybe if we can think politically for a moment here, aren't times like this when the prices are so low and you're seeing record losses instead of record profits, Don't you think this would be a good time for us at least to start mentioning that to our friends and neighbors and start telling them, hey, do you see all these record losses? This is what happens in between the record profits. That's why you need the record profits, because of all, it's very highs and lows kind of product.
Yes. An economy's been that way for centuries. I mean, that's farmers are supposed to put, when they have good years of crops, then those are years they're supposed to put money aside and assets aside for the bad years. It's only biblical.
That is a great analogy. We're going to close on that. Thank you so much, Al. Fantastic points. Thanks for calling in tonight. Folks, you're listening to Grassroots Colorado with Andy and Corey Pate. Once again, Chris is taking the night off, but she will be back tomorrow. She will come back to you.
Oh, yes. She's looking forward to it, I'm sure.
She is looking forward to it. Now, I want to kind of prep the next hour, because in the next hour, what are we going to be talking about, hon?
We are going to talk about potential 2016 presidential candidates.
Exactly. And folks, we're going to need you to call in, and here's why. We're going to talk about what are some things to look for in candidates. All right. But also, I want to hear from you who you like. I want people to call in. We're going to start writing down some results. Who do you like as our presidential nominee? Who would you like as a VP nominee? And number 3, I'd like to know who you like least. Who you really don't want on the ticket. I want to get a feel for what's happening out there. And, if you don't tell us, then who are we going to probably promote, hon?
I don't know. I was thinking maybe McCain and Dole.
Okay, McCain, Dole. So if you don't call in, I'm warning you, we're going to promote McCain, Dole.
There's got to be something good on him, right?
I think you can do better than that. So in the next hour, we will be talking about that. We're really enjoying this. But getting back to oil for a moment, I just don't understand what has happened. How did all the young people, because there's so many of them, come to hate oil? Is it just what they're hearing in education? Is it media? Is it the usual media, education, and entertainment?
I think so. I think a lot of it is. In fact, what was it? A couple of years ago, I went to an environmentalist meeting up in Boulder. And the reason that I went was I thought it was important to hear the other side. And also, Mark Mathis is the one who told me about the meeting and suggested that I go and hear what they have to say.
What was it like?
All about control, actually. And I'm not just saying that to be silly. I mean, I was sitting there and it was amazing. They were just gleeful about their strategy, about the way they twist information, about what their ultimate goals are with using energy to control people. And the things that they were talking about were not even true. Like, they were trying to say that China was going to a completely reusable society. I can't remember the term that they used right off the top of my head, but trying to say that China was going green when China's been putting on more and more coal-fired plants every time you turn around. Right. I mean, goodness, look at their air quality. People think ours is bad. You can't even walk outside without choking on theirs.
Last I saw, 7 out of the 10 most polluted cities in the world were in China. So, I just can't understand. I can't fathom it. I don't know why people don't understand the benefits of oil. And it just drives me nuts. I have to thank you and Mark, though. You did make me nicer.
Oh, good.
Well, because as I said at the beginning, I've never met people more controlling than environmentalists. How many, people talk about, well, what about church? Church people are controlling. No. Church people don't control what you drive. Church people don't want you paying $8 at the pump, which, by the way, the leading environmentalists do want. Church people don't want to limit and affect your life in every conceivable way. When I was on the left, I knew a lot of environmentalists, and they drove me from the left. It was just all I could take.
Well, and I think you just hit on a really good point with that, because we talked when we first opened this segment, or the hour, we talked about the fact that the rabid environmentalists love to lecture. It doesn't matter what it is, they are lecturing you. I mean, goodness, we just saw an article about Seattle and how in Seattle they've passed ordinances where you have to sort your trash. You have to put all types of food products or any type of food waste separate from all of your other trash. And if you don't, your garbage man is going to report you to the city and you're going to get fined.
Well, hey, that's perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, God forbid that something accidentally get put in the wrong bin.
But the thing that bothers me the most is they put all of their global warming predictions always don't come true. All of them.
Well,
all of them.
Why do they change it from global warming to climate change?
Exactly. And this is when, folks, when you talk to young people about this, and some young person is saying the science is settled or whatever, just look at them and say, if the science is settled, why do you have to change the title of it? From global warming to climate change to climate disruption to whatever. Why do you have to couch it in terms to where whether it gets warmer or colder in a locale, it's proof that you're right about global warming? It's crazy. So the entire basis on which they are trying to push away oil, which is what we need because it's way better, the whole basis of it is because of a theory that they have to keep changing the name and weighing the evidence so anything that happens backs it up. It's too weak.
Right. Well, and they don't take the time to look at the actual evidence. You know, whenever they talk about pollution, they're thinking of like choking smog, like what we see in China. But what they fail to mention is that here in the United States, we're back down to what, our 1997 carbon emissions?
Well, we didn't fail to mention it here, Corey. And in the next hour, come back, please, because we're going to be talking about 2016. I want to know, who do you want to run on our side and who don't you want? We'll see you then.